When it comes to women in ministry, there are two passages that naysayers typically go to. There's the 1 Timothy chapter 2 passage, which we talked about in a couple of other videos, and there's the 1 Corinthians 14 passage, which we're going to talk about right now. Now, before we discuss these two, we have to recognize that when we look at verses, we want to put them in context. And so we want to take the 1 Corinthians 14 passage and we want to put it in context. And just before we get to the part where he actually says anything about women, Paul's talking about order in church. And this is really important because even when we get to verse 31, Paul's starting to say things like, look, it's okay for everyone here to prophesy. You're all allowed to prophecy, but let's do it one at a time so we have order and understanding in the church. We can't have everybody talking at once because that doesn't work. That sounds a lot like our children's ministry that controlled chaos. It doesn't actually get anything done. Now, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that Paul can't be saying? Here's what Paul cannot be saying. He cannot be saying that women are never allowed to teach or preach. And we know that he cannot possibly be saying this because in the exact same letter, in chapter 11, Paul actually sets up the stipulations for women to prophecy. Prophecy is a teaching of scripture done in public. And so when someone says that they are to prophecy, even like Peter had said in Acts 2, what he is saying is that these people are to teach in public with authority over men and women. So we know that Paul can't possibly be saying that. So we need to stop using that as an argument. That is a misuse of scripture. But we do have to ask ourselves what Paul is saying. And Paul continues on with this entire theme of order through the rest of these passages. He's talking about order in church. And why would he be talking about order in church and then shove women in there? Well, think about it. Women simply weren't educated at this time. Women, unlike the women today or people today, were not theologically educated. It was expected that they didn't know what they were talking about. But they needed to be educated because they were being prepared to teach and preach the gospel, even over men. And because they were getting excited in service, and like any good learner, they have a lot of questions and a lot of comments, and they're trying to get clarifications, and it's becoming disruptive. And so Paul says, look, we don't allow women to do this in church. Let them go home and ask their husbands. Why their husbands? Not because they're above them, but simply because husbands are more theologically knowledgeable than they were. That's it. That's when that worked. But here's the thing. Today, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, I know many women who are theologically beyond most men in this world. Now, women have always been as intelligent as men. They just have not been given the opportunity. And even though we continue to oppress them today, women are brilliant and continue to break ceilings. And we do well to start listening to those God has called. Let's stop misusing these passages and let's start looking at the whole message of the scripture, which we'll talk more about, and recognize that God calls women to ministry, and our due diligence as good Christians is to obey that call and to subordinate ourselves to those women who are above us. Even myself am led by women, and I'm proud to have it done because there's so many brilliant women and men who have amazing things to share that God gives them. Let's let God choose the prophets.